Hi, this is in response to the request from the Gracie Academy to um, answer the question of how did Gracie Jiu-jitsu change my life. And the initial spark that got me interested in Gracie Jiu-jitsu um, was I was living in Europe at the time. I'd studied a little bit of karate in Alaska, where I'm from, and my family and I moved to Europe. And I had enjoyed karate very much, so I looked around for an academy in Geneva, where we were living, and I wasn't able to find the level of instruction that I really liked. So I began to, as I traveled around Europe, I would visit every academy and see what they had to offer. Various academies in various disciplines, karate and jeet kune do and whatever I could find. I finally was able to take a class locally that was taught by a French fellow who taught a mix of various martial arts, one of which was Jiu-jitsu. It was not Gracie Jiu-jitsu. But at one point, as I learned more about martial arts, I kept hearing the question, who is this Royce Gracie? And Gracie Jiu-jitsu isn't that good, and somebody can defeat Royce Gracie. So it caused me to simply wonder what this was all about, and I began to look into it. And I went to London on a trip one time, and I looked in the phone book for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and I found an academy. I called the fellow. It was Mark Walder, and it was not a night when he was teaching, but he said, "Dan, if you come out to my academy, I'll open it up for you, and we'll roll, and we can talk about it." So I took a train. It was about an hour and a half ride out of London, and Mark picked me up in the dark at the train station, and in the pouring rain took me back to his academy, and opened the academy, and we talked and we rolled, and I think from that moment on I was hooked, just from his techniques and his expertise. And what solidified the deal was Mark told me that Royce was giving seminars in London not too long thereafter. And so I went to one along with my son, met Royce, and that was really when I absolutely fell in love with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and saw the potential that it had. Currently, I'm back in Alaska, and I train as often as I can at the Gracie Baja Academy in Anchorage, the one owned by Robert Grunder. And formerly my instructor was Ted Stickle, who now teaches in Katy, Texas. I also started a local club in the town where I live, Palmer, which is about an hour out of Anchorage. And I have a local group of men and women that come. We sometimes roll in my house. We're going to move into town shortly and have a small class, probably 2 times a week. How has Gracie Jiu-Jitsu changed my life? I guess one often hears of the spiritual aspect of martial arts. And I wasn't particularly looking for that. But when I train in Jiu-Jitsu, I just found that that's what I felt. I felt that every lesson I learned on the mat was a lesson that I could transfer to other things in my life. For example, when I learned that one had to be relaxed, not give an opponent the tense body to spring off of and conserve energy and all the other reasons that we try to relax when we roll. It was a direct lesson to apply to life in general. Not to attack problems perhaps head on, but to look for a way to let them flow in a different direction. And I've just found that continually. I've overcome many things through applying the principles of Jiu-Jitsu, and I guess I find it tremendously fun in the end. So let's see, what would I say to others who think they can't do it? I think those are obviously just excuses. The same excuses that people use not to work out to stay in shape. There's no excuse not to do Jiu-Jitsu. I've seen people that are that are blind, that have physical disabilities, and these people do remarkably well in Jiu-Jitsu. It's not a question of what your physical attributes are. That's one of the beauties of it. It's not for the big and the strong and the athletic. It certainly can be practiced well by them, but it's also for all the rest of us. So it's wonderful in that aspect. The roadblocks I had in pursuing jiu-jitsu, some of those were logistical. I was traveling around Europe for much of when I first got introduced to jiu-jitsu, and I couldn't find a steady training academy, and I felt that held me back. Once I was more in a situation where I could train more regularly, I think I initially had to overcome the feeling that, oh my gosh, I'm going to go get beat up again, and I'm going to lose, and I had to wrestle with that for a while, but each time that I went, and in some cases made myself go to class, and at my age, I'm usually rolling with guys that are a lot younger and stronger, and so I would get defeated a lot. And I finally realized that is not at all what it's about. It's my own journey, and it's my own quest to get better. And it really has nothing to do whether I roll against people that I can beat and tap out, or people that are better than me. And that was probably my main roadblock that I had to overcome. My final goal in jiu-jitsu, well, I would certainly love to become a black belt. Currently, I'm a 4-stripe blue belt, and I'd like to think that I'm not focused on the color of the belt so much as just the level of jiu-jitsu that I practice and constantly learning. I started a program in Alaska. I spent a lot of time in the native villages out in rural Alaska, and these kids are under some tough conditions, both cultural changes, alcoholism, drugs, bullying. These remote villages have all of that and more, and I felt for many years that this would be a wonderful art to bring to the villages. And about 3 years ago, I actually looked around for some funds to take this to the villages, and I was successful in finding some funds. And I started a program up in Northwest Alaska and also in Southwest Alaska, and would go out to the villages, teach the kids to my level, and I'm continuing to do that. And that also is one of my goals, is to spread the benefits of jiu-jitsu to these kids and adults that really need it in the rural communities. And I'm able to do that with the support of Gracie Baja and other organizations, and that's another goal, is to keep that going. And I guess I have addressed all 6 questions that were asked, so I will leave it at that. It's just an absolutely wonderful art. And I thank the Gracie family for doing what they do and bringing this to the rest of the world. And I look forward to continuing this for quite some time. Thank you very much.